fuel, give me fire, give me double shot it down.
Alright, good evening. This is another episode of the Wookie AutomoTV Racin Ramblin podcast. This is your host, the one and only Wookie. First of all, I'd like to say, kind of a somber time right now. Rest in peace, World Outlaws driver, Jason Johnson. He passed away after a very severe crash up at Beaver Dam up in Wisconsin last night. So, the whole racing community is keeping his family and friends in mind. So, anyways, back on track. Had a very busy weekend. Yeah, it was an off weekend this weekend for me, so I was not in Sonoma or Gateway. I kind of had a couple offers, but to go to either, but I had too much to do back at the house. So, and yeah, I was running around all weekend long. Saturday, I went bought a lawnmower, bought a new DSLR camera, so I'm kind of pretty excited about that. So hopefully the old Wookie drives improves in quality as I learn how to do all that stuff. So pretty exciting time for me. I played around with the camera a bunch. What else did I do yesterday? Yeah, and then basically that entailed that I went to Winston-Salem for the lawnmower, dropped that off back to the house in Statesville, and then went over to Hickory, bought the camera. The main reason I was in Hickory, I had to go to Men's Warehouse. My brother's getting married in a month, so I went ahead and got fitted for a suit finally. So, exciting times there. It's a lot of running around. But other than that, today, Sunday, pretty busy day, or not as busy. Went ahead and mowed the lawn with the new lawnmower. Real proud of myself. I know I sound like an old man, sound like Hank Hill, but I may do a Wookie drives on the lawnmower just for shits and giggles. I know Regular Car Reviews has done one, but I don't know, just for shits and giggles. Anyways, also today, I actually filmed the car. Definitely the newest and nicest vehicle I've done. It's still a very basic car. It kind of fits in the theme of the whole Wookie drives, but still, it's definitely the newest and cleanest vehicle I've done so far. Did have a kind of a cool backdrop to do it. I did it over at Charlotte Motor Speedway on their grounds. So it was pretty quiet today. They did have a autocross event going on at the ZMX Dragway, so I didn't really go over and see what they were doing. But anyways, came back, watched the end of the IndyCar race, and then sat down and watched the Cup race. Kind of passed out in the middle part of the Cup race, and yeah, let's get started. Cup at Sonoma. Twisty Turny's first road course race of the year. First of now 3. First of the 2 traditional road courses. Sonoma, everyone, it's kind of a tight technical course, but I think it's kind of played into. Everyone kind of thought this was going to be kind of a wreck fest, but I don't know. The drivers are just so dang good right now. I think a technical course like Sonoma just really shows how talented they are. Like, we had some offs, but nothing like we used to see here. I'm sure Watkins Glen and the Roval are going to be different, but I think just how the way things are right now at Sonoma, and I just think you're just going to typically see a cleaner race now at Sonoma than what we used to see. We saw the cream rise to the top again. The top 4, they have emerged as the top runners this year, or top 3 really, and then the 4th guy was running 3rd all day. But Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, they were in the top 4 or 5 all day long, other than pit strategy. And guess what? They all finished top 5. Clint Boyer was also, he was probably the number 2 or 3 fastest guy of the race. He was up there competing. Just kind of sitting there thinking, we had AJ Allmendinger. He was probably the one guy that could have risen up and competed against those guys. And, of course, he stayed out for the first segment and won the segment. He didn't pit early like the other guys did. But he probably had a car that could have competed against those other guys. Unfortunately, he kind of messed up about 9 laps into the second segment. Missed a shift, grenaded the engine. And that was really the only caution we had for something on track. The rest of the 2 segments, and it just went green all day long. If we didn't have those 2 segments, I'm sure it probably would have been a lot more interesting race. I didn't really see the point, and those guys were pitting a couple laps early before the break. I guess it was for pits for track position, but it didn't really seem. I don't know. I thought they could have just waited till the end and then gone ahead and pitted at the segment like the guys in the back did. Anyways, the only real strategy we saw was the second or the third segment, the second half of the race. That's where we started to see some strategy play out. A lot of guys did a 2-stop strategy. Martin Truex Jr. ditto, and Chase Elliott did a 1-stop strategy. And guess what? It went green the entire time, and Martin Truex won by a handy margin. If we had cautions, Kevin Harvick probably would have won that race, but it just went so clean and green that it just played it right into Cole Pern's strategy, and Martin Truex now has 18 wins. That's, if you told me about 3 years ago he would now have 18 wins in a Cup championship, I would tell you you're crazy when he went over to Furniture Row. But just to see that operation perform the way it has over the last 3 years, it's just really, really good. Of course, Barney Fisher's spent a lot of money, but you know what? He's winning races. He's won a championship, and they have an opportunity to go win a third championship. Or a second, not third. Tripping over my words already. But basically, once again, this is just the way the season's gone. We saw the cream rise to the top again. It's just we got three or four clear top above everybody else in the series right now. And a lot of that has to do is that the Chevys are still struggling with the new bodies. But just all the Chevy teams are pretty weak right now. Saw some life out of Hendrick this weekend and Ganassi. Jamie McMurray, he did have an off and blew an engine. But Carl Larson's the one I meant to say. He won the pole for a second straight year, and of course for the second straight year, dropped like a rock and finished 15th. Yeah. So they seem to have real good qualifying, but it seems like especially this year, have been really hit or miss on the race setups. But the Hendrick bunch seemed to have some life out of them for once. Jimmy Johnson finished 11th, which is kind of sad to say. That 7-time championship, hey, he finished 7th. But still, that was a good run for him, especially for the season he's had. Of course, William Byron kind of struggled. He finished like 24th or something like that. But it was his first time here, so I'm going to give him some slack. Alex Bowman kind of had a really quiet, good run. I think he finished like 9th, so that's probably one of his better races of the season. He's been kind of really disappointing this season. Of course, I didn't think he was going to go out and win races, but I would have thought he would really run a little better than what he has. Chase Elliott, another top 5 finish. I think he finished 5th. So, good run for that bunch. Still looking for a win. And the haters are still going to go on about it, Chase fans, until he finally gets that win. And it's been a long time coming. When he finally gets that win, yeah, good on him. But yeah, it's year 3 now, and we're still waiting on that first Chase Elliott win. Anyways, yeah, it was a real clean race. Credit to the drivers. And the thing I really kind of want to talk to about this race is that I just felt the stages really kind of hurt the fun we used to have at Sonoma. You used to get a lot of funky strategies, guys putting a lap 10 or something like that, even before lap 10. And it just used to be some really fun strategy now. But now you know there's going to be caution at lap 25. You know there's going to be a caution at lap 50. The rest of the race is all up to you. But right there, it's laid out for you. And I don't know, with road course racing, it's a different animal. And I really could have hoped that we saw something come out of it. Something different. And no, it just kind of raced like what we've had all year. And I just really think the stage races at Sonoma, or stages at Sonoma, really kind of hurt the racing there. It just, yeah, good on the drivers, good on the teams for building cars that don't fall out, oil down the track. Good on the drivers for being super talented and keeping it out of the barriers, but at the same time, I used to love watching Sonoma for the ass-backward strategy. We used to see guys like Robbie Gordon and a lot of guys that typically didn't run very good, still good finishes. It's like, yeah, remember that one year Robbie Gordon finished second for his own team, and he was struggling at the time. And he had a real funky strategy, and he was able to steal a second place finish. But yeah, I just think the current state of affair stage racing is really kind of hurts. I don't think it's not so much at Watkins Glen, because it's a very fast and no room for error track. I think Watkins Glen, it's probably still got to race like a Watkins Glen race. It's going to be a couple big crashes and some pretty good racing for the most part. But I think just Sonoma, just where it's a lot more technical, they got a lot more runoff. Or just the stages kind of really, I think, hurt this race. And that's just me. Go ahead and yell at me. Come at me, bruh. But that's just me. Anyways, next on the docket, the Ringer Report. Because we're at a road course race, we got to go over the ringers. Starcom Racing brought out everyone's favorite movie man, Tommy Dreese. Not with a movie this week. Normally he does, but had a real cool, probably one of the coolest paint jobs of the weekend, where an old Chaparral throwback scheme, and just real beautiful car. Which that team's had fantastic looking cars all year long. Ryan Daly does a really great job designing those cars. Props to him. But Tommy Dreese was in the 00. Justin Marks was in the 15 car for premium. This first race we've seen Ross Chastain not be in the 15 car. But no. Justin Marks is a pretty good little road racer, and he brings a little bit of money. So yeah, I think he did announce that he was going to be in the 15 at Watkins Glen in the Roval. So, but there was that. Rick Ware Racing had brought two cars this week, and there were two full-blown Rick Ware Racing cars. No alliances with Stuart Haas, and no that funky New York racing team Extreme craziness that we had at Charlotte and Pocono. But Chris Cook, very, very talented drive instructor. He actually has taught a lot of these jobbers racing in NASCAR right now. He's instructed them instructed for them. He's taught them a lot of tricks of road course racing. He's a very talented guy. He's been racing Trans Am the last few years. Cody Ware, he came back. I think it was only the second start of the year, but yeah, everyone's favorite punching bag, Cody Ware. But he's got a road racing background. He came from Continental Tire. That's what he got to start on. Right now, he's been racing sport bikes, some AMA stuff. So he's been trying his hand at something different. So props to him. But yeah, I always like seeing Cody run in his element on the road courses. He gave Mike Harmon some really good runs last year in the 74 car. So that, and then the final one, Gaunt Brothers came back. Yep, Parker Kligerman is the driver. Yeah, we'll probably see, unless someone else brings some money, Parker Kligerman is going to be in that seat for the rest of the year. Looking like they're kind of doing what MBM did last year. Every other race, they're going to race that. But anyways, nice to see Parker back in the seat. And anyways, the Ringer Report. 00 Rodriguez, he finished 32nd, and he about ran what everyone kind of thought he was going to do, Starcom. There was their first road course race anyways. Justin Marks finished 28th in the 15 and premium, and that's about where that car's been finishing this year. But still, halfway decent finish for the 15 bunch. Rick Ware Racing, Cody, he had some mechanical issues. At the end of the first stage, the car died. He got back out there and ran a couple more laps, ended up finishing 36. Yeah, unfortunately, some mechanical issues for Cody. And then the 51, Chris Cook, finished 31st. Halfway decent finish for Rick Ware. And then 96 car, Gaunt Brothers and PK, finished 23rd. By far their best run of the year. They were on the lead lap until the very end where Truex got around them. But still, real good run. Really nice to see that bunch get a finish like that. So, anyways, that was our Ringer Report. I'll bring it back when we run Watkins Glen. And I'm sure Watkins Glen's going to give me a hell of a lot more to talk about. Also, before I forget, get well, Wendy Venturini. I guess she was out jogging yesterday morning. She was out jogging and got hit by a car while she was out jogging around Sonoma. So she's recovering. So get well, Wendy. Anyways, finish off the Cup Series. I've been rambling for about 15 minutes about Cup Series. Goodbye, Fox, for the season, and we will not miss you. Yeah. It seems like every year my patience for Fox kind of goes away a little by little. And really, last year I wasn't really impressed with NBC. But they've been making changes, some personnel changes. So I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to go. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. But Fox is just stale. And it's hard to say that because Fox is one of the more forward-thinking networks that the sport had ever had when they came into the sport. When they came into the sport in 2001. But go watch Auto Rockin' 94's video on the graphics because he goes into a lot of detail about Fox as a broadcast company for the sport, and he covers. Yeah, he gets a little nitpicky on the graphics and stuff like that, but there is a definite shift on the broadcast. They were so forward thinking at the start, and then now it just seems like they're phoning it in, and they're just trying so hard right now for stories. And like all we heard at the end of the race was, Mark Chooks and the 78 crew, they faked on the radio they were coming in. Move for the race. And they would not shut up about it. It's like, guys, this kind of stuff happens all the time. It's not new. It's just stop, please. And of course, you got the pit reporter. She's asking Martin about it in Victory Lane, and he's kind of like, no. So but yeah, my thoughts. My thoughts of the broadcast bunch. Jeff Gordon is the best thing we got right now in the booth. Yeah, I think he sounds kind of boring. That's just to me. But he brings a lot of really current insight on the stuff. Now, on the other hand, you got DW, who hasn't driven a car in almost 20 years. And, yeah, he's just extremely out of touch. And when they announced Jeff Gordon was coming, I was like, oh boy, they're finally retiring DW. Finally don't have to listen to him blabber, blabber. Just go nuts in the booth and stuff like that. And it's just, no, they put him next to DW. And DW, it's just time to retire. We need some fresh blood. And if Fox is going to continue, we need fresh blood. And that brings us to the last talking head, Mike Joy. And yeah, he's just making more and more mistakes, it seems, as further time goes on. And it's just like, yeah, he's had really long, good career, but it's just, yeah, we need some fresh blood. Yeah, we can keep Jeff Gordon. I miss Larry Mack in the booth. He was a lot of fun in the booth, and it was just kind of a shame he's kind of gone to the side the way he has. I think Jeff Hammond's about dang near not used anymore. It's just, we need, I'm going to hammer it again. We need fresh blood in the Fox's booth. So, come on, NBC. Please do something different. And I'm not talking about the interviews on the start-finish line and the two post-race interviews with the winner. Just please be better than Fox. That's all I'm going to ask. Anyways, let's get on to the rest of the racing we had this weekend. What was the other big race weekend for NASCAR? It was Gateway for their annual race weekend, and they had a new opener for the Truck Series. ARCA returned for the first time in 10 years, and unfortunately, it ran about how I thought it was going to do with the weak field. I think it was about 25, 26 cars there. And when you count out the 5 starting parks, or the 5 starting parks in the 34 car and the 48 car just riding around, and the 2 car just riding around, you really only got like 15 cars out there just kind of going at it, and it just got spread out. We had a couple wrecks. The 15 car of Christian Eckes was pretty quick. He was probably the car that probably could have dethroned MDM. But, MDM brought 5 cars, and they once again showed they were the class of the field. Sheldon Creed won the pole, ran away with this race, extended his point lead. I'm really kind of hoping the points battle stays close this year. It was real fun to watch. Austin Terrio demolished the field last year in the Shredder car. But this year, I'm really hoping Zane Smith, and he seems to be feast or famine, unfortunately. Now Sheldon's on a roll. But I'm really hoping Zane can stay there with him. And we got coming into Kansas, we have a 2-dog race. And at the end, which completely opposite of my thoughts of the truck series right now. But anyways, after the complete demolition of, I think, championships, you're going to have ebbs and flows. And one year you're going to have a guy run away with it. Next year, maybe you'll get that. One in every 5-10 years. Two dogs competing at Toledo 2008. Of course, standing high and mighty above everything else, but the best example of a close points battle where the guy in third wins because the two guys in first and second wreck each other. But, oh my God, that was still probably one of the greatest races I've ever watched. But anyways, man, they need to end the ARCA season back at Toledo. Yeah, it's cold and raining that time of the year. But, man, that was such a perfect ending. And then that was also, like, my second ARCA race was 2011 at the fall race at Toledo, when I got to see the big fight between 5 Venturini crews and the 2 Childress crews. So, yeah, I'm a little bit biased there. But, yeah, not the best date for weather, but still a pretty fun event to have a bull ring as your ending race and at ARCA's home. But anyways, back on track. Sheldon Creed won. Rookie Chase Purdy in the other MDM car finished second for his best finish of the year so far. And Harrison Burton finished 12th. Or not 12th, 3rd. His card number was the 12th. Word salad again. But anyways, and before I get off ARCA, let's do the Decker Watch. I made a clip there. But anyways, Natalie Decker. Clearly the only thing worth watching, according to everybody on the YouTube chats and Reddit and all that, and Facebook. Natalie Decker. How did she do? Did she finally win that race? Oh my God, I hope she wins this weekend, blah, 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 and she wrecked. Yep. About how she's done all year. Was running 11th and 12th about all race long, and she got loose going into turns 1 and 2 and right side of the car. Nothing more to add. Maybe she'll change. Maybe she finally get that win at Chicago, but that's just my thoughts. Yeah, when you're in a Venturini car, and I think she should be running that a lot better than that. But honestly, she's not running as bad as Ryan Reed did when he drove the Venturini car, because that was honestly kind of embarrassing, and people forget about that. But anyways, yeah, I wish her all the best. It's just, I don't think she's the next racing god that everyone's prepping her to be. And I think it's just a lot of Danica fans have migrated over to her, and that she's a really attractive young lady. And I think that's a very good chunk of it, is that she's a very cute blonde girl. So she's a very, very easy to root for and to promote. And yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the whole hubbub around Natalie Decker. I think she'll probably be in trucks next year. That all depends on sponsorship. Does that sponsorship... Of course, she's at Venturini right now. It is not cheap to be at Venturini. But if that money follows her up the trucks, she could easily be in a KBM. She'll probably be in a ThorSport truck. I'm calling it now. You're hearing it here first. She will be in a ThorSport truck for 2019. And she'll probably run about what she's doing in ARCA right now. A couple top 10s. Some top 10s there once in a while. Running the top 15 most weeks. A lot of tore up equipment. Anyways. Get off of Gateway. Continuing on Gateway. Might as well lump them both together. The Truck Series. Saturday night was at Gateway. And oh my God. This is by far the best race of the weekend that I saw. Out of the major events between F1, Indy, Cup, and Trucks. Trucks was a fantastic race. Oh my God, the beating and banging. It was like a big Martinsville. Yeah, he had guys get away every once in a while. But man, those guys beating and banging, and just the whole late model movie for the next spot mentality just makes that's in trucks right now, just makes Gateway a just really fun watch. It's been a fun watch the last couple of years. We didn't have any WWE moments like we did in 2016. It's going to be hard to top that, but it was still, once again, fantastic race. I would have wished the crowd was a little better, but hey, they're trying at Gateway. They're really trying. I kind of hope Xfinity goes there, but I'm kind of worried just the way the Xfinity cars are. It's just kind of race like Loudon or Richmond. I think the trucks have about an inch more travel than the Xfinity cars. They got a longer wheelbase. They're all on spec engines together. I think it's just a perfect storm at Gateway, and it is typically at everywhere we go. But I think if you bring Xfinity there, it's not going to be as good as the Truck Series. Now, that being said, the Xfinity Series should definitely be there. The Xfinity Series is desperately lacking solo events where it is the top dog. I think the Xfinity Series leading up the truck event would have definitely helped the crowd there, make that event bigger. Because by far, and I just love that track has bounced back like it has. We got ARCA back there with trucks. We got trucks, for the love of God. IndyCar's back there. It's fantastic we got IndyCar racing there. And, yeah, the original IndyCar races there weren't the best, but the fact that we have... Last year was a fantastic race, and we are really desperate to have oval races on IndyCars, or in IndyCar, and how many flat ovals are capable of holding an IndyCar race? Texas was kind of, honestly, I want to say I want to see more 1.5 miles, but unfortunately, we had a perfect storm of shit in 2011 at Las Vegas, and that's all I'm going to say is that we'll probably never see a Kentucky or Chicago should probably be back on that schedule, but you'll probably never see them back on the schedule because 2011 Las Vegas happened. But anyways, this was a fantastic race. I didn't even mention who won yet, and to top it all off, we had a first-time winner. Justin Haley finally got his first career win. Awesome to see him in victory lane. He was fun to watch in ARCA. I remember seeing him losing in the final corner at Winchester in 2014. I just happened to be watching in the grandstands because shenanigans happened in the car I was supposed to be helping did not race that weekend. But that was just a fantastic race altogether, and just kind of felt for Justin that he got moved like he did. But anyways, good to see him win. Who do you win? Yeah, Todd Gilliland finished second. Nice to see Todd finally get a good finish. He's kind of struggled this year with the trucks. When he gets in his dad's K&N cars, he's still kicking butt in those cars. But yeah, he hasn't really taken to the trucks as quickly as I would have hoped, for as the type of talent he's been hyped up to be. But I think he'll come around. I think he'll probably get a win or two by the end of the year. He's a very good driver. I think he's definitely been able to develop a lot more than what his dad did. Of course, we all know the story. His dad was a pretty good West Series racer. Went to run a part-time Busch schedule. they did some things. Out of the blue, they won Kentucky, and a couple weeks later, he was signed to a development contract at Yates, and by August, he was in the Cup car. And yeah, that was by far probably one he should. Yeah, in hindsight, that was not a good move on his development. And of course, Yates kind of had their hand forced, but Elliott Sadler leaving. But honestly, a veteran should have been put in that car for the rest of the year and put David, if you wanted David so bad, put him in the car as a rookie the next year. And even that was kind of pushing it on the development cycle. But anyways, that was Gateway. Yeah. And then Johnny Sauter finished third. And oh my God, that 21 team has been so dominant this year. They got one finish outside the top 5 this year, and that was a 19th at Martinsville. And yeah. And that kind of brings back the opposite of what I was saying about the ARCA series, hoping for a close points battle after last year's domination by Austin Terrio. I kind of wish there was no cup or no chase in the trucks, just so we can see Johnny Sauter potentially put on a record-breaking season. Because, he's on his way to demolishing the field. And if he loses the championship this year at Miami, I'm going to be very mad because hopefully he keeps up the pace he's set this year. But he's by far the best. It's like what everyone's complaining about in the Cup Series about the Harvick, Martin Truex, Kyle Busch domination. But Johnny Sauter is by far leaps and bounds above everybody else right now in trucks. And unfortunately, I don't got any good examples of people running away with the truck championship off the top of my head. But I got Jeff Green in the Busch Series in 2000 popping in my head right now. I got Kevin Harvick in 2006 running away with it. I got in the Busch Series. But yeah, those are the type of performances that are popping in my head, and I think that's the kind of season Johnny Sauter is going to have. And if he loses that championship at the end of the year, it just, yeah, he's by far is going to deserve this championship if he keeps the pace up like he's had. We had some big debuts in the Truck Series this weekend. North Carolina late model stock driver Tate Fogelman made his debut in Young's Motorsports in the 20 car. Bryant Barnhill, after he unfortunately failed to qualify last week in the Harmon truck, he started and parked the premium truck. Although it did say engine failure under the results, so I don't really know. Maybe they did have an engine failure, but yeah, it's kind of disappointed to see him not really get a chance to run. But anyways, big debuts. Zane Smith was in the 54 car for DGR Crosley, and Riley Herbst was in the 51 truck for KBM, and both ran great. Riley ran about what he did in the 18 car last week at Iowa, and he finished eighth, and I think it says a lot about the equipment he's in those two rides. But at the same time, it kind of makes you think about if he's able to run like that in Xfinity and trucks, maybe the ARCA ride isn't just on him. But anyways, because he really should be running better than what been doing. He's got only one win so far, and that was at Pocono last year. He'll probably win Pocono in late July. Pocono tends to favor the teams with the most power, and of course we had Harrison Burton win a couple weeks ago. But anyways, speaking of young guns, Christian Eckes, again, really good run in the trucks, in the 46 truck. He had a real fast truck that probably could have won, and he won a stage, the second stage, and just unfortunately he got into it with Stuart Friesen. Stuart Friesen got loose underneath him and ended Christian's night. So it's just been real fun seeing Christian. Yeah, he's in the best equipment in ARCA. Yeah, he's in the best equipment in trucks. Yeah, he was in the best equipment in late models. But seeing where he was 2 years ago in late models, and to see him actually having potentially race run in trucks, I wasn't impressed when I saw him at Hickory a couple years ago. He was a dart without feathers, but he's really coming along nicely. He worked a lot, very close to the LFR group. I think his dad owns a good chunk of LFR. So he's got the Uris and is sitting there coaching him and shit like that. So he's got some, and then he's been over at Venturini. He's got Kevin Reed this year. He had I forgot who. I think Jeff Stankiewicz was his crew chief last year. But anyways, this year he's got Kevin Reed. Anyways, really nice to see Christian mature as a driver and really making a name for himself. Also, we had a very big crash later stages of the race. John Henry Nemechek blew an engine, oiled the track down. Justin Fontaine spun, backed it into the wall pretty hard, and then, excuse me, it was a beer burp right there. But Tate Fogelman absolutely obliterated the left side of that truck. Very hard crash. Excuse me, drinking my beer. But yeah, good to see both drivers walk away. Tate looked like he was a little banged up, but unfortunately, both drivers walked away. NASCAR's made a lot of good changes, safety changes to those trucks. People forget the Truck Series hasn't had a major chassis change really since the start. They moved the. I think originally they were 112-inch wheelbases, but by the late 90s they extended back over to 115. But yeah, it's really been only, and of course you got a little bit of chassis updates every once in a while when something major happens. Like you got the Bodine bars in the back behind the rear tires to keep trucks from climbing over the rear wheels. You got what I call the bell bar, the 7A bar that comes up behind the driver. That was instituted after Christopher Bell's scary crash last year. Was it last year? Nah, I can't. My memory's horrible. But anyways, they've been made some great safety changes. NASCAR is always on top of safety, which they should. But anyways, good to see those two drivers. Very hard crash, but yeah, Trucks at Gateway, fantastic race. Wish more people saw it, but it was just really goes to show. I want Xfinity to head a Gateway, please. Even Cup would be great there, but I've never been to Gateway, so I can't really comment on it like Iowa. Yeah, Gateway is a lot closer to the city center than Iowa, but I can't comment on the grounds how it is there. But yeah, Xfinity Series definitely should be back there. But Cup I can't really comment on that. But Cup cars would be fun to watch there. Although it'd probably race like Loudon, and we know how unfortunately Loudon's been racing. So anyways, what else raced this weekend? K&N West raced on Saturday at Sonoma. A lot of people complaining about the amount of Cup drivers. We had 5 Cup drivers in the field. Eric Almirola Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, William Byron, Alex Bowman. Other than Almirola, I don't really care about those other 4 guys running because they're young guns. They need all the experience they need. Sonoma's a very tough track, and I think running the K&N race helped them a lot. But in the end, it was not a Cup driver. Will Rogers won his second straight K&N road course race. And yeah, he's a bit of a road course expert himself, and it shows. And he's taking those Jefferson Pitts cars, running the old one-piece bodies, and this has been, I guess, 3 straight K&N road course races he's won, east or west. So good for him. And he needed his West season really hasn't gone. I think they missed a race or 2, but they haven't had that full season money put together. But this will help. We'll probably see Will Rogers in the 7 car the rest of the year. Hopefully, I'm really hoping. I like seeing the Jefferson Pitts crew win because it's not McAnally. McAnally is kind of like the Venturini or the KBM of the West Series. So I like seeing other groups win in that series, and I think the West Series has really kind of turned around in the last couple of years. It certainly feels a lot healthier than East. Now, of course, we had 15 cars at Orange Show, but you don't need 30 cars at a quarter-mile track. It doesn't. 15 cars is fine. They had a weak field at Colorado, but anyways, hopefully we have a good car count at Douglas County. That's the next race. Up in the Northwest, I think Jefferson Pitts will bring 2 or 3 cars to that race. Patriot Motorsports Group's probably going to have 4 or 5 cars there because it's Pacific Northwest, and they always tend to do that. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on K&N at Sonoma. Good. It's kind of good seeing a regular win over one of the Cup drivers. But oh yeah, and gotta shout out to the worst looking car of the weekend, and that was Alex Bowman's car for Bill McAnally Racing. And if you haven't seen it, look it up. It was all over Twitter. It was all over Facebook. They took Cup decals and put it on a old one-piece composite body, and it did not work at all. Yeah, it was just highly entertaining, and that was probably the one thing I'll probably remember about this. It's like, man, nobody look at that thing and say, you know what, that is probably not a good idea, but they did it anyways. So, anyways, that was K&N at Sonoma. Also mention real quick, modifieds were at Langley, the fun little 3/8 over in Hampton, Virginia. Ryan Preece won over Justin Bosignor and Matt Hirschman. I bet it was a good race. I kind of hope NBC got that one so we can watch that one. So, hey, modifieds were racing this weekend. I'm a northern guy, so I got to shout out to modifieds. More racing this weekend. The F1 returned this weekend, and they made a return to France. We haven't had a French Grand Prix in about 10 years, and they returned to Circuit Paul Ricard, a pretty flat track in the southeast of France. This is a track that has used to hold the F1 races in the 80s. Probably was it Mauricio Gugelmin that flipped side over side on the start in the 1989 race. But yeah, I was kind of glad. I was kind of afraid they announced Circuit Paul Ricard because it's a very flat track, and it definitely screams Tilkedrome or Tilkedrome. Just the flat and then vast amounts of runoff there. But at the same time, I don't remember Magna Cores being all that good. I just remember Ferrari and Michael Schumacher winning every year. So, anyways, they proved me wrong. It was a pretty entertaining race. Lewis Hamilton led, I guess, flag to flag. I missed a good chunk of the middle because I was mowing my lawn. I was testing my new lawnmower. But anyways, yeah, it was. Yeah, the track was it's got all that runoff, but it's also kind of tight. But it's got these long straightaways and these tight corners. So, yeah, it led to some battling and beating and banging. And yeah, we had one big crash at the start. Piers Gasly about went over the back of Esteban Ocon, took them both out. But yeah, it seems like all that runoff and all the drivers, it just seemed to all the drivers like, man, I can go make that move. Because if I don't, does it pan out? I got all this runoff. So yeah, it's actually a pretty entertaining race. So yeah. Also at the start, Sebastian Vettel got in the back of Valtteri Bottas. Both of them had to climb up back through the field. Excuse me. Vettel finished 5th. Bottas 7th. Of course, Vettel's finish allowed Lewis Hamilton to retake the championship lead. And that being said, we also had kind of a different podium this week. Max Verstappen. It seems that Red Bull's finally sat him down and calm down, kid. But he finished 2nd. Good finish for him. And Kimi Raikkonen, probably his last year at Ferrari, probably his last year in F1, unfortunately. But it's the fact that he was able to come back the way he did and win races at Lotus and then go over to Ferrari and I can't think of off the top of my head if he's won at Ferrari or not, but I don't think he has. But he's still out there competing. He's by far the number 2 driver, but it's just good to see him be able to come back and compete. And yeah, here's hoping that he goes to sports cars and continues being Kimi Räikkönen. Maybe he restarts that NASCAR career. He drove Truck Series for 2 races. He drove Truck Series 1 race for Billy Baloo, and then the next week he drove a KBM car at Charlotte. So yeah, people forget. Yeah, this guy got let go at F1, so he just went out and drove anything that he was given. So here's hoping that Kimi finds a good sports car ride and has a nice long career after F1. He's a world champion. All he wants to do is race. Leave him alone. He knows what he's doing. And then on F1, man, kind of you feel bad for Fernando Alonso, and you kind of heard his frustrations at the end of that race. Yeah, David Land's been calling this for a few weeks now, and I agree with him 100%. He is going to be in an IndyCar ride next year, and bring him. He's got his 24-hour Le Mans win, so now he's got to go after that Indy 500 win. But I think just because he's a racer and he's really become a fan favorite since he's gone over to McLaren and struggled like he has, but he's probably one of the top drivers in the world and stuck in a Midland team that should know better. So, yeah, bring him to IndyCar. I know McLaren, I almost guarantee you this is the only reason they're even talking about going to IndyCar is because they want to keep Fernando in their docket. Because, quite honestly, saying, hey, world champion Fernando Alonso drives our race cars. They can turn around and sell their street car. It's just really good PR. Went on Sunday. sell on Monday. That whole deal, just that much higher class than what the NASCAR guys do. I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I am drinking another Catawba Brewing Company beer, White Zombie White Ale. Pretty good. Of course, every time I see this on the shelf at Food Line, all I can think of is like, man, White Zombie was a very good band, and it's a damn shame they fell apart like they did. But that's just completely off topic. Anyways, also this weekend we had IndyCar at Road America, and really not much to talk about that one. We had a big crash on Friday. Rookie driver driving Juncos. Uncultured American. Can't pronounce those. But anyways, Alfonso Silas Jr., I guess he's an Indy Lights driver this year, but he's making his debut, and he got a really hard crash coming in the turn 16, I think it is. Basically, coming around the last little sweeper before we come around the final corner up the front stretch of Road America. But he went off, hard crash into the tire barriers. They fixed the car. And anyways, the actual race, yeah, really not much to talk about. It was just clean and green. No cautions whatsoever, which has kind of been Road America since it's returned to IndyCar. And no real huge crashes, but yeah, Joseph Newgarden ran away with it. Ryan Hunter-Reay finished second. Good to see him running good again. And Scott Dixon finished in third. Takuma Sato finished fourth, so good run for him. Yeah, I guess Alexander Rossi really ran pretty aggressive. I guess he made some good saves. He chrome horned his way, but I'm sure David Land will go over IndyCar a lot better than I didn't sit and watch the race. Like, I spent much of it. I was filming that car today, so. But yeah, just sitting there trying to watch the highlights, and I caught the last 10 laps, and yeah, it just seemed like a clean and green road. About a lot like our Cup race at Sonoma today. But that being said, do not pull Road America off the IndyCar schedule. It is by far probably one of my favorite tracks to go to every year in the Xfinity Series. Probably the best road courses in the country. Probably, it's a damn shame this place doesn't get talked about as one of the top tracks in the world. But it's definitely an amazing track, an amazing community, amazing fans there. They love their racing up in Wisconsin. They love their IndyCar racing. They love their road racing. They love racing all together. So, yeah. Here's hoping we lost Phoenix off the IndyCar schedule. That was announced on Saturday. But here's hoping we can keep Road America. All right. I've been rambling on for about an hour. Let's go over what's coming up next week in racing. Chicago week for NASCAR and ARCA. We got 4 series at Chicago, and my thoughts. Hey, cookie cutter racing. The place has gotten pretty rough in recent years. I'll probably say my thoughts more of it next week, but I don't know if it's quite where Kentucky was, but I'm kind of hoping that it is. But yeah, we got ARCA on Thursday night, Trucks on Friday night, Xfinity on Saturday, and Cup on Sunday. And of course, the week after we go to Daytona, and then we come right back to Kentucky for another intermediate track. But as for my thoughts on Chicago, if you were going to ask me it or Kentucky. I'd say Chicago over Kentucky, and I really went over my thoughts on Kentucky last week. I'll probably go over them again in a few weeks. But anyways, yeah, we're probably going to have a lot more people complaining about the racing package this year. You're probably going to have Martin Truex Jr., Kevin Harvick, and Kyle Busch run away with it. But it's racing. Anything can happen. Maybe Chase Elliott finally gets that win. Also racing this weekend, going in the touring divisions for NASCAR. The Pinty Series, Canadian Series, races for their third time of this season. They're racing at Autodrome Chaudière. I really hope I said that right. Up there in Quebec. It's a high bank quarter-mile track, and that ought to be some really good racing. So if you're fine, I'm sure there'll be something on YouTube. The Canadian guys always do a real good job of getting the Canadian stuff up on YouTube. So here's hoping that ought to be a real fun race to watch. K&N West is racing again this weekend. They're racing up in Douglas County Speedway outside of Spokane, Washington. Flat half mile track. I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier. Yeah, that ought to be. I believe that should be an NBC covered race because that is the only touring division that's in the States that's running this week. So hopefully next week we got some good K&N racing on NBC. F1 is racing in Austria next week. They're doing their first ever 3 straight weeks of racing at 3 European tracks. Probably one of my favorite tracks on the F1 schedule, and always has a real good race. Since it's returned, at least. Probably one of the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg, Austria, for the Austrian Grand Prix. I think this place is a lot similar to like a Road America or Watkins Glen. It was, of course, that's just me armchair race car driver driving from my experience playing the Codemasters F1 games on my Xbox. Yeah, I love that place. It's fast. It's got a lot of elevation change. So hopefully hoping that's a real good race. I imagine we'll probably see Ferrari come back for that one. We'll probably see Sebastian Vettel. But anyways, that ought to be a very good race. And then IMSA is racing again this weekend after a weekend off. They're racing at Watkins Glen. So, yeah, if you're up in the upstate New York area, go check out IMSA at Watkins Glen. Always probably one of the most underrated IMSA events of the year. So, anyways, that's what's happening in the racing world this week. What's coming up? I've been doing this for over an hour now. As for the YouTube channel, hopefully I get back on track this week. I know I've been saying that on Facebook for a while now, but today I put out Sunday. Sunday I put out a Trucker Wookie episode. It's just me parking the truck, rambling on at just giving a little insight of what the process and what we do as truck drivers. Of course, that's me in a dually in a 48-foot trailer, but hey, I still got to park that thing in the garage area. And then later this week, or Monday night, is when this podcast will be up. It'll be up on YouTube and Shout Engine. Yeah, it's on Shout Engine now too. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, and then hopefully I get it up on iTunes in the near future. It just depends. But I got some good feedback about the my podcast last week, episode 1, so I made some changes, and I used some constructive criticism, and hopefully it's better this week. I've been rambling on for over an hour now, but anyways, podcast will be up Monday. Later in the week, I can't tell you when exactly. I'll probably aim for Wednesday. I'll have a second Trucker Wookie episode. Not really, I hate calling it an episode because it's just 15 minutes of me sitting in the driver's seat, or this one's me sitting in the passenger seat. But it's a Trucker Wookie at Iowa. So and then parking at Iowa, and then cap it all off. I'm hoping by it'll probably be Monday. Next week, just because of the work schedule and the travel schedule, is that when I'll have the next Wookie Drives episode. Probably it's the nicest car I've done, but when you see it, and you're like, oh, that's a nice car. But I had if you compare that to the Astro and the Grand Marquis, it's by far the nicest thing I've had on the. It's still a very basic car, and I'll probably bring back the basic transportation joke, but I did with the Saturn review. But anyways, it was a fun shoot because just of the backdrop, driving around the grounds at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It was just a real fun backdrop to have in the back of this car. I hope to do some more filming there. It's just a real cool area to do these reviews around. But anyways, that's what's coming up for me, the Wookie Automotive. Go ahead, give the YouTube channel a subscribe. Give the podcast a like if you like it. Check it out on Shout Engine if you can't sit there. But yeah, check it out on Shout Engine. If that's your cup of tea. I love podcasts. I listen to them all week long at work. So, yeah. I'm just happy to finally be doing this. This is another thing I've been burning in the back of my head for the past year about wanting to do. But anyways, check out the Facebook page at Wookie Automotive YouTube channel. Give that page a like. And then, yeah. That's all I got for this week. And if you want to submit a card for the Wookie Drives bit, I know it's not related to the NASCAR and the racing that a lot of you like having me, but it's a passion project. I like talking about cars. I like talking about mundane cars, and yeah, I talked about a Saturn Ion for 10 minutes, and you know what? I had a lot of fun making that. So, if you're in the Lake Norman, LKN, Charlotte area, and you got something you'd like to contribute to the show, go ahead and give the Facebook page a message or a comment. I'll try to get back to you. I got a very busy work schedule with the racing, but hopefully we can work something out. I'm always open. I'm so early into the yeah. I've had enough beer. That's enough rambling. This has been the Wookie Automotive Racin Ramblin Racing podcast. This has been Sonoma Gateway Weekend. Next week's Chicago, and I'm sure the Twitterverse is going to be all sorts of angry about the racing, and I'll have plenty to talk about next week. So anyways, have a good evening, or good day, whenever you listen to this, and bye-bye.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.